What is up, God Gamers? And today I have 10 comps to show you that you can play on day one of patch 13.15 that are guaranteed to be strong and or gain you some LP. Now, I made this list in mind with just reading the patch notes, but I also looked at a lot of other predictions and comps lists from other high elo players. I especially took a lot of attention to Dish Soap, the guy who retains rank 1 more often than anyone else, and used kind of what his comps list as a little bit of a template combined with what I think is going to be strong in the patch. And I have a special comp at the end that may or may not be strong, but we'll see. But the first up, we have Zeri Freljord. And I just want to say before we get into this, there are so many different variations of this comp based off of emblems. If you have Zon emblem, you know, if you have Gunner emblem, all that good stuff. And so this version is just if you have no emblems. This is just a base template that you can play from, and we're going to be maximizing at 3 Freljord. 3 Freljord is very strong. If you can fit 3 Freljord, you want to have it on your board. And I think this build will probably be the S tier, the go-to build that people will be defaulting to, because this is already the build that people are starting to default to on the previous patch, other than Ari and that sort of thing. This is already the default build, and Aphelios didn't get buffed at all, and this build didn't get nerfed at all. I was hoping Aphelios would get the tiniest buff in the world to put him better in line with Freljord Zeri, but that didn't happen, and Zeri is already the more dominant one, and Zon got buffed. They didn't get buffed directly, but the quality of life is so much better because you will always be getting an offensive Zon augment as your first Zon augment, so it'll make Zeri always playable. And you will be able to remove your Zon augment without selling your unit, so you can have a really easy tempo into playing this comp where you put the Zon augment onto Jinx, and then you just bench her. You don't even have to sell her if you're able to remove the items without selling her. So Zon is so much easier to play, and it was already probably the S tier default 4-cost comp. So this comp is for sure going to be strong. Now, if you hit Sion, you definitely want to have Sion on your board. But again, this is just one variation of this. We see our Urgot items here. If you hit Senna, we're going to put this here. If you don't have Senna, you just play Jace or Jinx, whatever. And yeah, you can play a bunch of different front lines. Like you can play Nasus frontline with 4 Zon, with Warwick, Jinx, and Urgot. You know, there's a lot of different variations. So just play around your emblems and play around the 4-cost units that you hit. But remember, if you can fit Freljord, you want to have Freljord on there. Now we're on to another Zeri build, because again, I do think Zeri is going to be the default comp to play, and this is the variation. I just wanted to show you one of the other variations where if you have if you have a Gunner emblem, you just put your Gunner emblem on Urgot or onto your Ashe. Now in this variation, we do not have 3 Freljord in, but we do have a very strong front line. But again, if you can fit the 3 Freljord somehow and the Gunner, that's going to be your best bet. But this is just, I just wanted to show you guys a 4 Zon variation, especially if the 4th Zon is like something like Robotic Arm or something like that, and then you can put Robotic Arm on your Zeri, and then put the other offensive one onto your Urgot, and you can be good to go. But this is especially if you hit a Nasus 2-star, this is what you want to play. You'll have a Nasus 2-star, Warwick over here, and then a Sejuani over here. Now, if you end up getting a Last Whisper, and you just put Last Whisper on a Senna, assuming that you hit a Senna, obviously you can play Jace before you hit Senna, then maybe you don't even play this and you play something like an Aatrox, or you play like a random Scion or a Heimerdinger or something like that. That is definitely playable as well. And keep in mind, if you don't hit the Freljord but you hit the Heimerdinger, you can just play Heimerdinger over Freljord, and that is fine as well. Anyways, this comp is looking pretty put together right here. And speaking of put together, let's have a quick word from today's sponsor. I've been using the classic leather style wallet for the past 10 years, and mine is falling apart. That's why I was so excited to be sponsored by Ekster. Ekster is a premium wallet company that has the new age wallets for the modern world. These wallets are extremely durable and very convenient. No more do you have to fish into your wallet to get out your cards. Just check out the carbon fiber one. This is the one that I'm going to use. They sent me this one, and check it out. Check it out. If you just need your card, you just press the button right there. So convenient to use. I can just pull out my cards, any card that I need. It can fit about 6 cards in this top slot right here, and then you can fit additional cards on this thumb pad right here. They sent me 2 wallets. They sent me the aluminum and the carbon fiber, and I'm going to be using the carbon fiber. And now that I pulled the aluminum out of its packaging, maybe I should have used the aluminum, but I'm going to give this one to my dad. It's the same style as the previous one. You just press the button down there. The cards come out at the top. Very, very, very cool. They also sent me this air tag. So if I lose my wallet, I just have to link this up with an app, and I can find my wallet anywhere it goes. So that is very cool as well. Ekster has plenty of accessories like money clips, key rings, all that good stuff. So if you want to check out Ekster and you want to support your boy, then use the link in the pinned comment below, and you will get 25% off at checkout if you use promo code Trajan. But I'm so excited to be working with Exter, and yeah, these wallets are amazing, and I'm excited to use these for a long time. All right, next up is going to be 6 Shadow Owls. Now, this is kind of a high roll composition because you do need to have a Shadow Owls emblem in order to make this comp work. It is so much better if you have 2 emblems because then you don't have to play this piece of garbage on your board. But this is very, very, very nice right here. So this build is going to be Gwen primary with 6 Shadow Isles with your Senna just backing her up. And it's just so tanky. And your Kalista backing up here. Kalista 3 is not needed, but your win conditions for this comp is just getting 6 Shadow Isles online with a 2-star Gwen and at least a Senna. And then you can... I don't think this is necessarily win condition, but if you can hit a Kalista 3, that can be quite nice as well. And so before you hit the Senna, you just don't play 6 Shadow Owls if you don't have 2 emblems. You will just play, you will drop both of these, and you can play more of a standard challenger comp where you just play, you play Aurelia and you play Kaisa here, and that'll give you Ionia and all that good stuff. Shadow Owls emblem can go on to either Shin or Yasuo, or if you're playing the 4 challenger variation, it can go on to the Kaisa as well. It's very nice on Shin because Shin is just so unbelievably tanky with the item, and especially if your Kalista is pumping out a lot of deeps, your Kalista can actually carry a fight if your Shin can stay alive. But, you know, if you do have side carry items to carry a Yasuo, then the emblem can go here. Something you're noticing that we don't have Ionia in, and it's just really not needed. If you do carry the Yasuo, if you're going to be putting like an IE and a Edge of Night on our Yasuo, then you just put the Shadow Owls emblem there, and he doesn't need the Omnivamp. He just has so much tankiness without the Omnivamp, so he doesn't really need it that much. But before we hit the Aatrox, we could totally play a Zed here. That'd be fine, but I just think it's better just to play Aatrox and don't worry about getting the Ionia buff. But yeah, this is looking pretty nice here. This is going to be more of a high roll style build. If you can get 2 Shadow Isle emblems, it's amazing because you can drop this piece of garbage and play like a Scion or another good unit. But remember, you can play the 4 challenger variation before you hit this stuff. Slayer emblem is great in this, so a lot of emblems are great in this build. And next up here, we have the Strategist Azir Lux Duo Carry. This build was already somewhat playable on this previous patch, especially if you have Deadfire Grass on Lux. And Azir got buffed, so this would be quite nice for this. Teemo also got buffed as well, which is, you know, somewhat nice for this build. Talia got nerfed a little bit, but who cares? She's just there for a synergy bot. But yeah, I do think this build is going to be quite strong. Going to be a default build to play if you build a blue buff, especially if that's the best item for you to build in the early game. And especially the tempo into this build is a lot easier because blue buff is a very good item on Samira and on Cassiopeia. Both of those units got buffed on this patch. And especially Samira got a very good quality of life change. Her ability can no longer miss. She was missing all the time. It was even bugging out sometimes, even when she would hit. So this is a very, 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 very good change. And tempoing into this build is going to be a lot easier because, yeah, you can put the blue buff on Samira or Cassio. AP items can go on Samira or Cassio. Samira is actually good with AP items. It makes her her armor shred buff and actually puts the units into negative armor very, very, very quickly. And then Cassio is good with attack speed items in the early game if you get Shurima online and that sort of thing. So it's the tempo into this build is a lot easier, and Azir got buffed as well. So if you guys have played this build in the past, definitely give it a try on this patch. And this is just the standard build. This is what it's almost always going to look like. Getting a Spark is very nice in this build because you don't have to build a Shiv onto Azir. But if you need to build a Shiv on Azir, that's fine. But if you can build a Gunblade on Azir, it's quite nice because getting stall for your Nasus and getting your Nasus to tank a little bit longer is so nice. So yeah. And then down here on Lux, we want to just have blue buff plus a AP amp item. Jeweled Gauntlet's going to be your best bet so that we can get the Demacia item as the third item. But if you end up having to build 3 items and you go for the Demacia item here, your third item is most likely going to be Giant Slayer and you're good to go. Next up, we have the 6 Challenger board. This is one of the easiest builds to play in this game. This is just when you get a Challenger opener and then you just build the Challenger items. You know, you can build RFC, you can build Guardbreaker, Jeweled Gauntlet, you know, IE, all this good stuff. Edge of Night. Edge of Night is an item that you almost always want to have in this build. And so this is just when you get the Challenger opener or you get a Challenger emblem early on in the game. Very easy to play this comp. You just go to 7 and then you roll down for 6 challengers, put 6 challengers on your board. You're good to go. Now, if you don't have the Challenger emblem, you just have to play a Samira, but it's still pretty solid build. This is the level 8 version, but at level 7, you're just going to play 6 challengers plus a Shin or a Set, and that'll give you Ionia. And then especially if you have the emblem, it's quite nice because you can play a Gwen on your board if you don't have the Senna. So Gwen will go on your board and Gwen will hold the Challenger Spat. Now, if you end up getting a lot of AP items, you maybe just continue to play the Gwen with the Challenger Spat, and then you add a Senna to your board and don't play Aatrox. That can be a way to play it. But if you do hit a Senna, you definitely want Senna to have your Challenger emblem unless you're actually trying to side carry the Gwen. And then Aatrox is going to be a good unit to add here because when Aatrox dies, he gives Yasuo extra health. Very, very, very cool. And also gives Juggernaut to your guy over here, which is not that important, but it is quite nice. If you don't have to play Shin, you can play Set. If you think Shin is too expensive to hold, to buy when you're still trying to hit your Yasuo and your Kaisa, then just don't worry about pivoting the Shin. You could just play 3 Juggernaut. It's no big deal. Set is a very good unit. So just play Set and that's fine as well. Looking at some items here, Kaisa, typically you want to have Sojin, but they did buff her mana. So it actually is easier for the cast, and they did this intentionally so that you can open up her build path in the Challenger builds and the Void-esque builds as well. So I think maybe this might be her build this next patch. I love Guardbreaker on here. Guardbreaker is so good. Guardbreaker always procs. Like, everyone has shields in this meta, or in this game right now. And then Jeweled Gauntlet plus a Gunblade can be quite nice. I do like that. But a Sojin is going to be great here. A Shiv is going to be great here. You know, having a Spark somewhere on your board is going to be great. So Shiv is nice here. Shiv is great on to Callista as well. But I do like this item setup, and you do want to have some type of shred in here. You can also play Challenger Heimerdinger, and that can be a great way to get shred and healing reduction into your build, because we currently don't have it on our build right now, but you always do want to look for something like that. Yasuo items, it's always going to be Edge of Night +2. That is always what you play on Yasuo. You can play RFC. RFC is great, but it is not the de facto Yasuo item. The de facto Yasuo item is Edge of Night, because he jumps to the backline, he takes aggro. You want him to de-aggro. But if you want to play him as a carry, I really like the combo of Infinity Edge, Hand of Justice, Edge of Night. But again, you can play RFC plus 1 damage item. That sort of thing is fine. I've even played like RFC Runan's builds, and that has felt quite nice as well. And also, he attacks so fast, deals so much damage, and has like some nice AoE combo on top of that. But yeah, I think this build will be quite strong on the next patch, especially with Samira getting buffed as well. It'll help you tempo into this comp. And now we have our boy Aphelios. Aphelios is my favorite 4-cost in the game. I think he's so much fun to play and so much fun to look at while he's playing, but he is not going to be as good as Zeri. So this is the comp that you'll play if Zeri is too contested, or if you just hit this comp, or you have some Deadeye emblems or whatever. And again, there are so many different variations of this front line, but I think this is the most standard. You want to have 3 Freljord in if you can. You can play 4 Deadeye. 4 Deadeye is the easiest thing to stabilize on, so you would just not play the Scion in the Senna, assuming you haven't hit them yet, and you would just play the 4 Deadeye units, Akshan and Urgot. Additionally, if you do have like duo carry items to play Akshan, then just play Akshan. Just play the 4 Deadeye version, and that's going to be quite strong for you. Probably get you a top 4. But yeah, so we just want to play 3 Freljord if we can, and we want to play 2-star frontliners. So a big thing about Aphelios is he needs a lot of frontline. That's why people roll on 7, and you just look for frontline units. And so there's a bunch of different variations of this build. So if you end up pinning a Nasus 2 on your roll down and a Gwen and like Gwen pairs and that sort of thing, your frontline might just be might instead be like a Senna, Gwen, Nasus, Aatrox with your 3 Freljord. That might be your front line, and just be okay with that. But this is more of the standard front line here. But again, Aphelios just needs a lot of front line, and I really do like these items on Aphelios. Gwynsu's Deathblade, Giant Slayer, I do think that's quite nice, but you can also go like Gwynsu's Guardbreaker IE, like that's fine as well. I do like some type of shred item on him, comboed with a hard AD item. You can even build Last Whisper on him, even though you're playing 3 Freljord. Getting the Last Whisper proc really early on into the fight. Also, Last Whisper is a good tempo item in the early game, because a lot of people are going to be playing Bastions more on this patch. So you can totally play Last Whisper. Don't be afraid to build it, and that'll be fine as well. This is the more standard Aphelios build, but remember, there are a bunch of variations. You want to get 3 Freljord in. You can play 4 Deadeye as stabilization, and just play around the legendaries that you hit and the 2-star frontliners that you hit, and that's pretty much how you build Aphelios. All right, this one, I'm going to be honest, I have never played Teemo Reroll, but I've been seeing people kind of theory crafting a Teemo Reroll for this patch, and I think this comp is specifically going to be very strong with emblems, like getting a Strategist Heart or emblem, or getting a Sork Heart or emblem, or getting Bastion stuff. I think that's really going to change what your build looks like. But just subtract Taric and Jarvan, and I think these are the units that you're going to be rerolling. This is a level 6 slow roll comp. You might need to, if you're going to be playing this comp, it's probably going to be best if you just tempo into it. But maybe it's one of those comps where you can sack and then go 6 and roll down for 2 stars, and it'd be really stable on stage 3. I think your strongest point of the game is going to be stage 3. And then when you hit your 3 stars at the end of stage 3, there's probably some Freljord, or not Freljord tech, some Yordle tech that I'm not taking into account here. But this is just kind of like the multicaster version. I think it's really hard to fit in the Yordles. But I'm sure there is going to be some Yordle tech with some 3-star Kled and Poppy stuff, but I'm not going to get into that. I just want to look at the multicaster version of the build. And so the units that you'll be rerolling are going to be Teemo, Talia, Kassadin, and Swain. And again, this is a theory craft, so hey, you might have a better version of this build, but I'm just trying to give you a template to play from. And then our level 7 is going to be Taric, especially if we have a Sork emblem, or it's going to be Jarvan. And again, we can fit in Demacia if we do have like some emblems and that sort of thing. We can play Lux here, and we can play Jarvan. Like, there's a lot of things that we can do here. So you could play Lux instead of this one and get Demacia. If we have a Sork emblem, it definitely wants to go into Sona. So yeah, I do think this build has a lot of flexibility, but remember the standard we're going to play is a 4 multicaster plus the 2 up here, and these are the 3 stars we're going to be looking for. Teemo items, I really like Blue Buff Jeweled Gauntlet Gunblade because he has it's ticking constantly, so Gunblade is very good. It can keep your front line healthy, and then we just want to put like a Spark somewhere in our front line, and yeah, so a Spark and then hard tank items on either our Kassadin or our Swain is going to be our best bet. All right, now we have 5 Shurima, Akshan, and Azir duo carry. Now, I'm not going to talk about Akshan Freljord Reroll. I do think Akshan Freljord Reroll is going to be just as strong as it is now. Akshan's getting a slight nerf, but he's honestly OP right now. So if you have the angle to play the standard Freljord Akshan Reroll, just play that. That's going to be great. But assuming you have duo carry items for an AP unit, then we can play something like this. And the thing about Shurima is a lot similar to that Aphelios comp. When you play 5 Shurima, you just play whatever frontliners you have upgraded. So if you have like a Shin 2, then maybe you don't play Renekton and you play Cassio and you get Invoker, that sort of thing, right? Like if you hit you want to have Freljord in if you can, that is very helpful because you don't have to build Shiv or and that sort of thing back here. I do still like having Ionic Spark in front of your Azir. I do think that is quite nice so that you can build Gunblade on your Azir. But I do like Freljord into the build. If you can fit 3 Freljord somehow, that's great. Emblems are very strong in this board, like Shurima emblem or Strategist emblem and stuff like that. Shurima emblem especially is very strong in this board. And then you can play 7 Shurima because 7 Shurima is very, very, very strong. So if you have the angle to play 7 Shurima, definitely play it. If you have an emblem, I wouldn't just like hard force 7 Shurima. I don't think that is the tech. But you just want to play whatever 2-star frontliners you can. So if you hit Shin, you hit Sejuani, that sort of thing. You can even like tech in some Taric every now and then. But this is pretty much what it's going to look like. You want to have Runans plus Hard AD plus Giant Slayer is usually your best bet on Akshan. But if you have to build another Rage Blade, that's fine too. I do really like Gunblade onto the Azir because Azir needs a lot of frontline. If you can keep your Nasus alive as long as possible, that's going to be your best bet. That's going to be good to go. You can put some tank items onto your Cassandra here, like Blue Buff with some tank items or Protector's Veil, that sort of thing. That can be quite nice. But anyways, this is pretty much the standard 5 Shurima build, but just remember, be flexible around emblems and whatever 4-cost frontliners you hit. And here we have the El Clasico, the Tristana Reroll, and Tristana's items are typically, this is still what we play, which is Rageblade, Gunblade, and Last Whisper. Very, very nice on this build. This is like a stall type of comp, and you do hit a lot of backline right here. We want to have some type of healing reduction in this build because our damage does come out very, very slow. Obviously, Teemo gives you healing reduction, but you just want to have it as early as possible into the fight. And then we have this. So the units we're going to reroll, if you're not familiar with this comp, is you're going to reroll Tristana, Viego, Poppy, and Maokai. And so you just want to have 3 3-stars, and one of them needs to be Tristana. So if you end up not hitting 3-star Poppy, it's no big deal, or don't hit 3-star Viego, no big deal, but you need to have 3 3-star to get the Yordle active, but you have to hit 3-star Tristana, and then the tank items go onto Maokai preferably, but if you can't get 3-star Maokai, then they just go onto a 3-star Poppy right there, and then we add in Teemo for our 4-star and our Jinx right there on our level 4 and 5, and you'll be good to go. The ideal version of this build is to get to 4 Gunner. So if you can get a Gunner emblem and you can get a 4 Gunner online early on into the game, that's going to be quite nice. But the goal for this comp is to stabilize on 3 stars on usually around like 3-5-ish. You know, sometime in stage 3, you want to stabilize on 3 stars and then use that tempo to get you to level 8. If you can get to level 8 and get 4 Gunner in, this comp is really, really, really strong. So that is the ideal version. Again, if you have emblems, that is quite nice. And usually you're going to be pretty low health because you stacked early game to move into this, especially if you took some econ augments to get here. Usually your HP is going to be kind of low, so hopefully you can get a Senna from Carousel, and that can be quite nice, and that can make the comp very, very, very strong. And then maybe you can drop a Diego if he's not 3-starred and that sort of thing. Maybe you do some 4 Shadow Owls tech. There's a lot of tech you can do in this. They did buff 4 Bastion, so maybe look to play 4 Bastion as a temporary frontline, or especially if you have Gunner emblems or a Bastion emblem, then you can look to play that. But ideally, you want to get to that 4 Gunner because we did not build any hard AD items on her, but she will scale very hard with the AD item. All right, and this one is a full guess. I am completely guessing if Samira Cassio duo reroll is going to be strong. I'm making this build up. I've never seen anybody play this because currently it is unplayable. Cassio does cast a little bit slow, and Samira misses her ability, and it's like somewhat bugged. So this is a complete guess, but blue buff is going to be very strong in this build. And so blue buff Samira is very strong because it gives her a little bit of AP. Her AP does scale her armor shred, which is quite nice. It is much better than building a Last Whisper. I watched Leduc's video on this, and it did help inform me quite a bit. Blue buff or AP items is actually much better for shredding than Last Whisper, but I would prefer just blue buff plus 2 hard AD items after that, like Deathblade. And I do think Giant Slayer is going to be good, but you could play Guardbreaker, assuming you don't get Giant Slayer. It'll be quite nice. And then Cassio items would be like blue buff, Jeweled Gauntlet, Hand of Justice will be really nice. And then you want to have healing reduction on your front line, because if you get Sunfire or Morello onto your Swain, that can be really nice, or onto your Aurelia, whatever, because that does buff Cassio's damage. She does deal bonus damage when they are already healing reduced. So this will instantly proc her bonus damage, and you can get a lot of kills, especially in the early game. Going to be quite nice. So the units we're going to be rerolling here are going to be Samira. The ones guaranteed we're rerolling are Samira, Cassio, and Aurelia. And then additionally, if you have the angle, maybe look to reroll Swain and Set. I would not really care to reroll Warwick 3-star without Zon and a bunch of stuff, and his augment is just not really that good, but Set is very good as a base. And then when we level, we're going to add in, as we level, we'll add in Warwick and this guy and Yasuo, and that gives us Ionia. And so yeah, our standard comp that we're gonna be ruling on is this unit, this unit, and this unit. And then when we're level 5, we'll add in Set. Level 6, we'll add in Warwick. And then level 7, we'll add in our Yasuo. Or wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, that is 7 units. Additionally, if you get some like Juggernaut emblems to make you do some weird stuff where you play Darius, you play 4 Juggernaut, that's an angle as well. So I do think emblems can change this build quite a bit. Maybe you can do some type of Shurima tech with Renekton if you have Shurima emblem. That could definitely be some tech, so look out for that. But I think this is ideally what you want to get to on level 7. And give this build a try. I'm not sure if it's going to be strong, but I'm definitely going to try to tech it in and figure it out. I'll definitely be cooking at the beginning of the patch, so we'll see what's happening with that. But anyways, guys, those are my comps. Give them a try. Just wanted to show you guys some stuff that you can try on the day 1 of the patch. Anyways, appreciate all of you. I love you all. And hey, I heckin' love TFT, and this is going to be a great patch.